So we have talked about slope-intercept form, and that's the basic equation of a line. And we are going to typically use y equals mx plus b majority of the time. However, today I'm going to also introduce to you point-slope form, and it's exactly what it's saying. We would use this form when we have a point and a slope, hence the point-slope form. This is the equation for point-slope form. So I would make sure to write that down and have that in your notes. M here is still going to be my slope. M is always represented by my slope. And the other key things in this formula is x1 and y1. And that's basically just going to be a point that lies on your graph. So if I were going to be using the point-slope form, I would first plot the points and then use my slope for my rise over run. Again, a point and a slope, I would use point-slope form. So I want to write an equation in point-slope form because it's telling me to write it in point-slope form. And I'm having the point, -3, 6, and I also have my slope of 2/3. So my point would be my x1, y1. And if you look at your notes, your point slope form is y minus y1 is equal to your slope, and then in parentheses x minus x1. The key here is this y and this x stay as y and x. You always need a representation of both your x and y for any equation. So now I'm going to write in my point-slope form. So y stays as y, and then I have minus my y1 is 6 is equal to my slope is 2/3, and then I have x minus, and then my x1 is -3. And you should always simplify when possible. So since it's asking for my answer in point-slope form, the only part I had to simplify is this plus plus, or keep change. So my final answer would be y minus 6 is equal to 2/3, and then in parentheses x plus 3. So when you see a positive, that actually meant a negative point. For this problem, I want to actually graph this equation. I'm going to write this a little bit bigger. This is y plus 7 is equal to -4/5, and then x minus 4. Now remember, my point-slope formula is y minus y1 is equal to my m, x minus my x1. So when I compare these, if it shows a positive, that means my y1 is going to be negative. So first I'm going to find my point. So my y1 is going to be a -7 because that's the opposite that's shown. Here it's showing negative, so my x1 is just going to be 4. That's my point. And I also have my slope. Slope would be a -4/5. Or you could have 4 over -5. It doesn't matter which way you write it. So now I'm going to actually graph this equation. So the first thing you want to do is plot the point. You want to do the point first. So by starting at the origin, I go to the right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and go down 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I plot that point. And then this is very, very important. From this point that you graph, that's where you use your slope. My slope is going to be rise over run. So it's going to be a -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a +5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or else, you could have also written 4 over -5. So if I started at my point, again, that was from my equation, I could go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the left 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Either way, those 3 points should all be on the same line, and they are. And whenever you have an equation, you always want to have 2 arrows. Here I have to find the equation of this line below. And you should always write your equation as mx plus b. But when I look at this graph, this is not at my y-axis. The graph does not pass through a perfect spot. So it's not at a corner. If it's not at a corner, I don't know what that point is. So the first thing that you should do here is find the slope. And you can use the graph to find the slope. So I'm just going to do my rise over run. So I'm going to start at my lower point, and I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So a rise of 7 and a run of 1, 2, 3. Positive 3. So my m is equal to 7/3. Now my second step, I'm going to use point slope form, and that is y minus y1. I'm going to use this point. You could use either point, you're going to get the same answer. Y minus 4, that's my y1, is equal to my slope here is 7/3, and x minus my x1. And then my third step here would be to solve for y. So the first thing I do, I'm going to rewrite my equation down below. The first thing you should do is always distribute your fraction or your slope in. So I'm going to have y minus 4 is equal to 7/3 x. And 7/3 times 1 is going to give me a negative 7/3. And I want to get my y by itself because I want into the format y equals mx plus b. So opposite of minus would be plus. And I want to get rid of the 4, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So my final answer here would be y is equal to, and I want you to leave your answer in the fraction form. So it's going to be 7/3 x, and then negative 7/3 plus 4. That would be the same thing as negative 7/3 plus 12/3. So that's going to give me plus 5/3. This would be my final answer. Make sure you fill out the Google form and submit your answer. Have a great and warm evening.